Good afternoon, everyone from North America. Good evening to those of you from Europe. This is a lunchtime event for East Coast USA, but it is early evening in Europe. My name is David Smith. I am the COO and esports lead for Women in Games. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the third webinar from Women in Games and eFuse in the Powerful Women series. Women in Games is a not-for-profit which is dependent on the support of the esports and games community. It has 11 years of standing and is now officially represented by ambassadors in 52 different countries. Our partners eFuse are corporate ambassadors. They have a fantastic platform for gamers that you can check out at efuse.gg. So that everyone knows, this webinar is being recorded. We'll be shortly hearing from some amazing pro esport talent, Ashley, Kai and Tina, who will be interviewed by our very own Emma Brown, Women in Games Ambassador, founder of the Cat Collective and educational content specialist at Learn2Esport. Before we start, if you haven't started to introduce yourself in the chat, please do so. We want to know that you're out there. Who are you and where are you from? Please ask questions as you go along in the Q&A screen, and I'm sure Emma and our panelists will try and answer some of these. The webinar lasts for about 55 minutes. At the end, there will be the opportunity for a further 15 to 20 minutes of questions in the Women in Games esports Discord. The links to the Discord will be posted in the chat. So if you're not already a member of the Discord, please join in the next 55 minutes. My colleague Gemma is helping us out there. So I'm going to disappear now and reappear at the end. Emma, over to you.
Thank you very much, David. It's great to be here again for another one of eFuse's fantastic webinars. So just before we get started, of course, we want to get to know our lovely guests. So we're just going to go to each person just to get a little short introduction and just to learn a little bit more about you. So Tina, if we start with you, can you just tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, so I'm Tina, also known as TINARAES. I am a professional Fortnite player for Gen.G. I've been around this space for since like 2008 when I started playing game battles. Mm-hmm. So I've been around for a really long time. Very familiar with Ashley. We've been in the same space for like forever, it feels like. So yeah, I've been here for a while.
Great to meet you. And Kai, if I can hear from you next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kai Mathey. I'm head of partnerships at Andbox. We're an esports entertainment organization based in New York City. We own several professional teams, including the Subliners in the Call of Duty League and the New York Excelsior and the Overwatch League. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum of Tina and Ashley. I am fairly new to esports. This is now my 2 years in. I came from the food media world and digital publishing world. So I've had a pretty steep curve. So anybody that's in the chat that is like new to the space, like I feel you, safe space. I was you 2 years ago.
Well, I'm sure we'll all join you in welcoming you to the space as well. And then finally as well, Ashley, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Everyone, my name is Ashley Glassell, aka Midnight, as I've been known for quite a long time. I'm the director of content here at Minnesota RØKKR and Version 1. So Minnesota RØKKR is the Call of Duty League team, and Version 1 is our Rocket League team. So very exciting stuff. I am endemic to esports, and I have been involved in the last 10 years. I was a 9-year member of Optic Gaming and considered a core member there. And, you know, although, you know, I do see new folks coming into the space, non-endemics like Kai coming in and learning so fast and applying, you know, that traditional, you know, the workshop to esports. It's very awesome to see those people entering the space. So it's definitely a safe space from within esports as well, welcoming in new professionals. So yeah, that's me.
Great. Well, great to meet all of you. We'll go to each person in turn to talk about sort of different aspects of your careers. But first, Ashley, I would want to start with you. So first with Optic Gaming as a content creator and now to Minnesota RØKKR as their content director. Can you tell us what you really enjoy most about a content-focused role?
Everything, man. I've loved content since I was a kid, ever since, I was 8 years old playing with my dad's video camera with those little like small tapes, making my own movies. Always passionate about gaming. I've been gaming since I was 5 years old. When I was about 20, 21, I got super into Call of Duty. I'd never really played an FPS before or cared about it. Then I got into Call of Duty and I was trying to look up information about it and everything. And, I found Modern Warfare 2 videos like just before that game was coming out. And I was like, wait, there's people like making videos of their, like, it was just two of my favorite things, gaming and content creation. And it was, I grinded from there. A lot of videos on my personal channel got picked up by Optic Gaming, was a content creator and streamer for them for a long time. I've worked a lot in the influencer space as well. And also at Optic, executing sponsored deliverables as a content creator there. And now I'm kind of on the flip side of that, right? I'm on the organizational side now, getting to experience, as someone who understands and knows like what content creators, like what do they want, what helps them thrive. It's much easier to kind of make that connection. And now, like I said, coming at it from the other side of the coin on the organizational side, it's been really interesting for me to kind of turn content that's more, instead of focusing on just me, I do on-screen talent things for my teams, but really making it about the organization and not just my own personal growth has been really, really rewarding, because we came in fresh just over a year ago, and this team has grown tremendously since then. So I love content. I love everything about it. I love esports. I'm in my literal dream job, dream role. If I'm hoping that's inspirational to others on this call, because it can happen. It's rare, but it could happen, and it's awesome.
Yeah, well, your enthusiasm is infectious, definitely. I mean, I can see how, going from content creator to content director will really help give you that sort of extra edge, because you know what content creators need to make that extra step. So, yeah, it's great to see how passionate you are about your role. But moving on briefly to Tina, can you please share your story and your journey about how you became part of the first all-female Fortnite team?
Okay, so I've always been playing video games like literally my entire life, like from like Nintendo all the way up till like Xbox, PlayStation, PC. I started playing online gaming officially was Call of Duty 3. My dad, he actually had to go to the bathroom, so he like told me to play for him, and I was like, okay. Didn't really know what I was playing at the time, and me and my sister, Call of Duty 3 had like multiplayer online, so like you could like split the screen, and so we like kind of got addicted to it, and like naturally, because I grew up with like brothers and sisters, like you want to be like better than them at everything, right? Yeah. So I wanted to be better than them at all the games we played. So we ended up getting Call of Duty 4, fell in love with Call of Duty 4, and from there I played all the CODs up until like Advanced Warfare is kind of like where I like left off. But around 2008, I forget which title that was. I think it was Call of Duty 4, or at least I was playing Call of Duty 4 during 2008, like completely. We started, I found out about Game Battles, which was like a pioneer like competitive gaming site. And from then I played for a very long time. I played competitively until Advanced Warfare. Honestly, don't know what year that is. To be honest, I don't remember. But I played competitive Call of Duty all the way from Call of Duty 4 till Advanced Warfare. Never really like made it to like the pro league, but like, I played Game Battles with my friends. And it was really fun. We always wanted to go top page, which is like pretty much just bragging rights at that point. Mm-hmm. And so after that, I went to H1Z1, where I actually tried to go pro at H1Z1. I tried to hit the requirements for the pro league, which I was like one division off. I was master, and you had to be like, I think it was royalty. So I missed it by like one division, but there was that. And then eventually H1Z1 fell. So I was like, what's the next game? And like the next game at the time was Fortnite. And so I was like, trying to get all my friends to switch over. Maddie, who I play with like every single day, I was like, come on, you got to play it. Like, let's just, H1Z1's kind of dying. Like, let's go to this game. And then eventually I've got all my friends to switch over with me. And I actually quit my job because I was trying to go like full-time streaming. And I was just like telling my dad like, yo, like, let me quit this. Let me quit my job. As long as I can make like $100 to pay my part of the internet, like, can I do this? And at the time, Twitch had just came out with, I think, affiliate program. So like, I was like calculating, like, if I have like 35 subs, I'll meet this mark and get paid out every month, right?
Yeah.
And so in 2018, it was around like September. We made it very clear we wanted to be signed, but it didn't really seem like it was going to happen. Like, it was really far fetched. All these men are being signed, so it was like we're women. Why is no one signing them? So I actually had two offers, or one offer at the time, one serious offer, and then I was gonna move to New Jersey. It was I don't know. I'm just not gonna say names, but I was gonna move to New Jersey, and then Gen.G came around, and they were like, "Hey, like, we want you." And Maddie ended up getting like the same email. We're like, holy crap. Like, and it was like living in LA, like a whole offer. We're like, holy cow, like, this is cool. Like, you know, kind of would rather live in LA with someone I know than like, you know, New Jersey with like, kind of like by myself. And they bettered the offer. They bettered everything. We'd be living in LA. And so, yeah, I've been with Gen.G. I just resigned for a third year. So yeah, that's my journey. It's kind of long, but yeah, we're finally here.
Do you think that competitiveness between your brothers and sisters as you're growing up is what really pushed you to go pro? I didn't play it. My father nor my brother were real gamers, but my mother is still a better gamer than me at some things.
Oh, really?
She can still beat me at like Guitar Hero if she tries.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
But some games that she taught me, like Sonic, I will beat her now. So, so I've always got that one in the bag. But do you feel that that's something that pushed you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we used to play all the way from like Mario Party to, yeah, like you said, Guitar Hero, shooter games, everything. Like anything that was multiplayer that we played, it was like, we want to win. Everyone. Me and my brother are the more like really competitive ones, but yeah.
Okay, and just moving on as well to Kai. So I want to move to more of a professional discussion with you. So could you talk to us a little bit about your role at Andbox and how it has been being a woman in an important leadership role?
Sure. So I'm head of partnerships, which could mean a billion things. And to be honest, it does. I wear a lot of different hats. Predominantly, I'm responsible for commercialization. So making the money, finding the money, keeping the money. And that also, that touches activations and events, that touches content, that touches audience development, biz dev. So I wear a lot of hats within our organization, which is really exciting. In terms of, what it's been like being a woman in the space, I'll be honest, I had like a pretty big culture shock coming to esports. I left a career for about 10 years in food media, where I ran a digital media publication for a number of years. And I think 100% of our staff, which was about 60 odd people or so, were either women, people of color, LGBTQI community members, or a mixture of those things. And then coming to a very, very male dominated industry, like it blew my wig off. I just hadn't been in that environment in a really long time. But I'll say that our organization and the reason why I joined is very much more in line with my personal values. I'd say like in our leadership level, we are, a third women. We are over, I think, 60% people of color. It's definitely something that our organization cares about. And we want to make sure that we are building an organization that represents the city that we, build our brand off of, which is New York City. And that's really important to me in looking at an organization that's within a traditionally dominated sort of space. It's really awesome to see Tina and Ashley and hear their stories, because these are a lot of them are new stories to me. And I've got a little girl, I've got 2 kids, and it's opened up like a whole new world in terms of like career possibilities. And like, I should stop giving her a hard time about screen time and playing games. When I think about, when I hear Tina and Ashley have been playing since they were little girls. So I definitely need to let that bloom inside of her. But yeah, it's definitely a big change to adapt to an environment that is pretty singularly dominated by folks from either the traditional sports world or from, endemically from the space where they came from, publishers or consumer electronics, and just like how different it is to communicate, how you have to take up space in a room, and just kind of what your role is. And that's been I feel like I'm on the other side of it, but I'll say that was something that was really hard for me for the first 6 months.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite new to the esports space myself, having only worked in it for the last year or year and a half. So I definitely feel where you're coming from. Especially I feel a need to be correct all of the time. Otherwise, you are definitely going to get called out. And that's something that I didn't really feel because I moved from recruitment into this. So, and that it wasn't something I felt so much there. But in esports in the male dominated field, I definitely feel that. But yeah, I suppose you hearing from both Tina and Ashley, maybe your little girl's going to get a bit more screen time after this meeting.
She's going to be delighted.
So Ashley, so as you grow the RØKKR community, the brand and the content, how valuable has it been to connect with the players, to mentor them?
It's been vitally important. I mean, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but you know, the ownership behind Minnesota RØKKR and version 1, you know, CDL was the very first esport that they entered into. Many of the other CDL teams coming into the league at that time had also, you know, in Kai's case as well, like had Overwatch teams. So they kind of had that infrastructure there and ready to roll a little bit. I'm sure there was build up, but you know, for us, I was the second employee hired, literally behind my boss, who's the COO, right? Shout out Brett Diamond. And so it's really been like building it up from the start. I actually, you know, after I got in contact and got involved with the project, you know, I was a main part of the recruitment process for that first RØKKR team because I have been ingrained in the community for 10 years. Many people know who I am, and at the very least it gives me an opportunity to like, hey, you know who I am, like let's talk about this stuff, let's talk about, you know, building this thing out and hiring a coach and everything like that. And so, you know, in terms of how I relate with the players, I definitely understand from my time at Optic, you know, what it's like to have that serious practice regimen, but also wanting to make sure they make time for content. So at Optic Gaming as well, you know, they have a very much content first kind of organization. Like you have to make the time to do the content. And that's something that I've also tried to instill from the RØKKR players, particularly our roster for this season. They are much more interested in building their brand outside of the game. Obviously, competition is number one, right? We want to win. That is always our number one objective. But while you're trying to win, why not, you know, put out some videos? We have Attach on our team. He's been a long time Call of Duty pro. He puts out a ton of content. So it's nothing that I really need to come in and say like, hey, like you should do this, but I am helping to facilitate, you know, them, help them out where they need. And then also, you know, being that we are such a new organization, making sure that we're making organic content with our players, making sure that we're showing that interaction outside the game. Now, obviously it's a lot tougher in the last year with the whole global I guess the way things are right now, but you know, we're still having them play together, shoot stuff together, and just kind of make it like a part of their lifestyle at this point, that content is a big part of what you do. And you know, I have a ton of experience building my own brand, being associated with other larger brands, and so I try to be a resource as much as I can for our players. And I'm also, you know, I'm always asking them to do stuff. It's a it's a nice mix for them.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So how have you been sort of creating content during the pandemic at the moment? Are they still sort of situated together, or is it sort of filmed in different, you know, across the country or wherever they are, or how is it?
Yeah, for sure this last year provided a ton of challenges. So for the inaugural CDL season last year, we did have all of our players living in Minnesota. This is obviously a regional based, you know, franchise league. So we did ask that our players move to Minnesota. They had mixed reviews of the winter here, but you know, we have you know, an amazing facility that actually sits on the same campus as the Minnesota Vikings facility. Our ownership, the Will family, also own the Minnesota Vikings, so there's that connection there. So we provided them a great, you know, training facility to come in every day, practice. But when the pandemic did start, you know, we you know, didn't require the players to be in Minnesota. If they needed to go home, go to their families, spread out, you know, that's okay. Yes, it did make it more challenging for me to say, hey, I need you guys for some content this week. Let's go. But, you know, we made do where we could. We filmed a lot of stuff just like this, right? Like at your desk, at your setup, you know, talking your way through things, a lot more gameplay focused things. We started doing more events. We did like tournaments, like Warzone tournaments and stuff like that, just trying to activate online where we couldn't in person. And so that was a big goal for ours. And then, you know, luckily this year we've still given the option to our current CDL roster to they are not required to live in Minnesota this year because of the ongoing circumstances. And I don't know if many of you know this, but a lot of the Call of Duty League players have kind of just made their own decision to live in Dallas, right? Dallas, Texas. There's a lot of internet advantages down there. It's the middle of the country. It's great international airport. It's a great place to live. I actually lived in Dallas for 2 years. So that was awesome. And yeah, it's less challenging now. We've actually hired a videographer that's also in the Dallas area. Shout out Joe Fries. He's great. We have him working for us now, and he's able to, you know, connect. All of our guys are living in their own, you know, apartments, but it is all in the same building. So they're kind of like grouped up, and we now have a unique opportunity that we didn't last year. Just with we've made the best out of the circumstances we had, right? Like we can't have them all in Minnesota. We'll figure it out. Oh, they all happen to want to go to Texas. All right, we're gonna hire a videographer down there, and let's do this thing, right? So it's been about you know, flying by the seat of your pants a little bit, but we made it work.
I think I heard from Kai earlier that it seems that all esports players do live in Texas at the moment. It's the hot spot, it seems. So Tina, what does the future of professional esports look like to you, and how can you take Gen.G to the next level, or what's next?
Well, I'm definitely not done. I enjoy playing competitively like a lot. So like any game I play, like I always want to be the best at. And so, I mean, you know, if the next big game comes out and I really, really enjoy it, I'm sure, you know, Gen.G and I can work something out where I transition to that game and compete in it. But at the moment, I'm with Fortnite, so we're playing Fortnite. But yeah, I'm not done with competitive. I like it. I'll never not be competitive. So it's like whatever comes around the corner, I guess, is like we'll see what happens.
Okay, great. We do just have a question from the audience as well, which a couple of people might be able to answer. But what kind of tips do you have in relation to creating and growing your own personal content? Tina, how do you feel you've grown and developed your own personal content with Gen.G?
Definitely branching out to like other platforms. Like don't put all your marbles on like Twitch or all of them on YouTube. Like you want to be on TikTok. TikTok is brand new. It's like booming right now. Like super easy to like just grab your phone and you can record it. Like everyone has a smartphone nowadays. So you know, you can record it. And yeah, like, you know, you can gain an audience at TikTok, send them over to your Twitch, send them over to your Twitter, whatever it is. And yeah, just like, you know, play your cards right. Do it. Go to all social medias. There's so many. There's Instagram and just everything. So don't focus on one specific platform. You know, check them all out. See what works best for you. Learn how they work, the algorithms, the trends. It helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I was really hesitant to go to TikTok until recently with this sea shanty trend, and then I'm like, I'm all over it. So now I'm also on TikTok.
It's fun. It's like addicting too. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, all social media I think seems to be. It's just Kai, what would you say to our anonymous attendee? Unfortunately, they didn't leave their name, but what tips would you have in relation to creating and growing the content for your personal content?
Well, I'll say that it's probably a question for Tina and Ashley mostly versus me. But if anyone wants to talk about how to make money from their personal brands, you hit me up.
I love that. That's a big part of it. So that's very important.
You know, I mean, I think that would be an important part of it, of how to sell your personal brand and how to turn you into the brand, I suppose, and is definitely an important part of it. But yeah, Ashley, what would you say to growing your and creating content and creating your personal brand?
I have the least favorite answer to this question. It's always the answer I give, is that it has to come from a place of genuine want. I mean, maybe it's a little bit different now. I can't put myself in the shoes, but when I started, there was absolutely no idea that there would be monetary gain. There was no blueprint. I wasn't looking at like Pokimane or Ninja and saying, yo, I could do that. Like I could make mad money and just do it. It just started from genuine interest. And I think that is the core part of content creation and how you can genuinely grow yourself. And it goes hand in hand with the next step, which is consistency. You need to be consistent wherever it is that you are operating. I like what Tina mentioned about spreading yourself across Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, making them all work together. When I'm looking at content creators and streamers and seeing, you know, how they're kind of handling themselves in their brand, I'm looking at, are they diversifying those things? Like, do they just put a go live tweet on Twitter, you know, and it's like the schedule's different every day, and then they're just ranting about stuff online, you know, they're not really like creating that consistency there. So I would say consistency and genuine joy for what you're doing is going to be what helps you grow. In terms of, you know, like literal things that can help you grow is just properly titling, tagging those things, whether it's a TikTok or a YouTube video or Twitch. It's making sure that you are making sure that you can get recognized by the algorithm, because that's like the hardest part. Like so many people are doing it now that you'll want to find whatever it is that you like, your niche, right? If it's playing really well at a game, or maybe you're a variety streamer and you make it about your community, like whatever that unique part about you is, make sure that you're properly filtering it out there onto the platforms.
Yeah, that sounds like really solid advice. Just going back to Kai briefly, so how do you approach professional development, and what advice did you wish you knew when you started out?
Good question. I would say in terms of professional development, and I guess less of something I wish I knew, but something that I think I've really used a great deal in my life. And I think it's really good advice, which is I think that we have a very specific notion of mentorship in the corporate world. And I think it has this kind of like vision of like a very senior, very experienced elder statesperson, and then a very inexperienced younger person. And I think that there have been plenty of those very influential people in my life, but I'd say some of the largest influences for me have actually been my peers. And I think that as you are growing your career in the space, regardless of what it is, you should be looking around to the people that you respect in your company, how they present in a meeting, how they come up with creative ideas, what they do for a living. They don't necessarily have to be very senior to you. They could in fact be junior to you, but you want to learn about what they do for a living. And that's actually how I learned all my boot camp in sales. I learned from my head of sales when at one of my companies. I was the head of marketing. She was the head of sales. We are literal peers in age, but I didn't know anything about her business. And she let me come on all her calls. She taught me everything she knew, and we invested in each other. And that was really kind of a defining moment for me, that I was like, oh, I'm good at this. I like what they do, and I can benefit from it. And that was just a really kind of amazing exposure point. So I think to as anyone is trying to, and grow their career, that it's not just thinking about who is super successful, who is super established, who are the scions of your industry, but also thinking about who else is cool? Who do you like? Who do you respect? Who does something cool that you think is interesting? And even if you don't want to do that exact job, maybe there's something in there that is interesting and you didn't know that there was somebody who's responsible for coming up with amazing Twitter graphics, or that was someone's job, right? But you will discover that through talking with people. So I'd say that that's something that I would definitely think about. The other thing I want to say, and David had said that most of the people that had signed up for this seminar were women. And I just want to say to all the women out there, just know that all of your male peers are reaching out very aggressively to everybody in esports for opportunities. And I'm saying that with all the love in my heart, because I receive many, hundreds in a year, and less than 4% of those are from women. And I just want everyone to know that you got to get in there. If you have interest, hit me up on LinkedIn. I don't respond to everything, truthfully, but I'll say that I always respond to women who reach out, because it's very few and far between. And just know that the men out there are pursuing this very aggressively, and just the hiring process is long and hard. And when you are a busy person in an organization and you need to hire, you're looking to your network to hire people, and like what's easiest, what's fast, who has like traction with you already. And people hire from their networks. And if their networks look and feel and sound like them, then they are going to hire people that look and feel and sound like them. So be there, be in their feeds, be in their inboxes, send your resume around, try and get a Zoom coffee, whatever it is. I encourage everyone to be aggressive because that's not something I personally see a lot of. And I think that everyone would benefit from.
For sure. I mean, I think that's two really key pieces of advice, especially the first. It reminds me of a quote that I really like from Bill Nye, that everyone you will ever meet knows something that you don't. And I think that's such an important thing, especially within esports, where there are so many different elements to it. Like, you know, each of us here each have our own sort of corner, as it will, and each have different skills and different backgrounds, so we can all learn something from each other. So yeah, I think the fact that you took the time to learn your co-workers' businesses and, you know, what they do and what they excel at is a fantastic way to grow yourself. So moving on, so I don't take up all of the time. So Ashley, what advice would you give, say, to Tina as a player, seeing as you sort of end up doing that side of things?
Man, I mean, I feel like Tina already does a great job, right? Like she's out there. I was so over the moon happy when I saw the Gen.G announcement of you and your team, Tina. I'm a big fan, obviously, of you and Maddie, just because you and I go way back. I just think it's so cool. And I feel like you guys are already doing, you know, all of the right things, but it kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier of making sure that you are active on all of the platforms. You know, if you're competing, that's great, be the best that you can be, but also, you know, have in mind, if you get a sick clip, like I know you and Maddie already do this, but if you get a sick clip, make sure that that gets published, make sure that you put great copy with that, tag it appropriately on the platforms you're putting it on, and just get yourself out there. I mean, it's not, you know, one-to-one with Kai's advice, but it really is about getting yourself out there, showing what you're doing, what you're capable of. And the more people that recognize that, your peers in the gaming community, as it be, like, the more that, you know, if an opportunity pops up down the line, they're like, oh yeah, like, yeah, Tina's perfect for this. She does A, B, and C. And if you didn't do A, B, and C along the way, you know, what are you building towards, right? So I would just say, be the best you can be, but also be building up your personal brand and what you can, you know, do to help yourself grow, because that's ultimately, you know, one of the most important things. I think especially now, and one of the reasons that I think esports is so successful is because the athletes, as it be, they're accessible. You can just go into the Twitch chat and say, hi, Scump. And, you know, maybe he reads when you sub, or, you know, you follow Tina on Twitter and she replies to a joke you sent to her. Like, the access is there. And that's one of my favorite parts about, you know, esports and watching these players, whether they're involved with an organization or not, just like doing their thing and building up the community around them with content and just that connectability. So
yeah, you're completely right. You're completely right. 100%.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
And so, Tina, what would you say is one trend in pro esports that's drastically changed over the last couple of years?
Definitely, there's since my signing back in 2018, there's been quite a bit of signing with more female teams. I know Evil Genius has actually just announced the co-ed team, which is like super cool because like you really don't see that. And it was a pro team. I was like, wow, this is awesome, because we don't just want it to be like a trend because trends end, and that's not what we want. We want it to be like an ongoing thing after this. And I think that we're kind of getting to the space where this is going to be like a permanent thing. There's a lot more women competing they've always been around. There's always been girls gaming, always. But now they're starting to like step up and be like, yo, like, we've seen these people do it. Now we're going to do it. You know, there's more women working in the space. There's more women, you know, I know it said Evil Geniuses before, but like the CEO, she's a woman. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's just more coming out. And I think it's very inspiring for a lot of people that are joining into the space, or they were too scared to be a part of it. And now they see all this stuff popping up. They're like, wow, this is not just, you know, purely men. This is everyone. And I think as we go forward, we're just going to see more of that.
Yeah, definitely. I've never seen anyone be so supportive of women in this space. So the women beget more women in esports, and
That's what we want.
yeah, exactly. That is what we want. And so one final question for Kai. In your daily conversations, what are some of the tasks and projects that you work on that normally don't get talked about, and why are they important in your role?
So I was honestly trying to think of a good response to that question, and I didn't have one. And but actually, one thing that I think is like I was trying to generalize it to something that I think it would be useful to hear. And I think something that is a soft skill that I think that we don't, that was something I had to learn how to do, was I think as you rise in the ranks at a role and you become a manager, and I think that new managers tend to manage quite rigidly. Because you don't know how to do it, right? Maybe there's a little bit of territorial disputes. Your instinct isn't to delegate; it's to micromanage. It's all supernatural things, and I think that is a piece of advice one of my mentors gave me was your power and your success isn't from like your title and where you sit in the organization. Your ultimate success comes from other people in your org wanting you to succeed. And that is someone who works aside you, below you, above you. You want other people invested in your success and the success of your projects. So you want people to want to help you. You don't want them to have to always just be like doing it out of obligation and an eye roll and just kind of doing the bare minimum to get you off their back. You want them to be invested in what you're doing and be excited for it. And so I think that was something that I had to really learn about and realize that like, oh, I can't just like treat my colleagues as transactional sort of like cogs in this wheel. You gotta care about people. You need to make your work culture a place people want to be. You want to be a colleague where people want to include you in conversations and be a part of your projects. So I think that that's something that is a soft skill that I think is really, really important as people kind of grow in their careers.
Yeah. Fantastic. And so one final question as well for all of you. So if you could swap jobs for someone else in the esports industry, who would it be and why? If we go with Ashley first.
Man, do I have to? I love my job. I'm in my role. I don't want to move from it at all. But I will say, hearing Kai talk about, because we kind of mentioned at the beginning, I have been endemic in esports and, not really working on the corporate side of things until the last year or two, right? Or like 2 or 3 years, but mostly in the last year or so. And so coming in, not necessarily as experienced, I'm like looking at the org chart. I'm like, who cares, But now I'm like, oh, well, this is how, these positions help the functionality of the whole and everything. And so I guess, Kai, I think you've had some really great advice today, some that I'm probably going to start to definitely try to follow through with. And I guess is it just for a day? Could it be for a day?
Yeah, sure. We'll say for a day if it makes it easier for you.
Yeah.
You seem to love your job so much I wouldn't pull you away for it longer.
I don't want to move from my job, but if I had to, I would want to be Kai for a day and just see the partnership side of things. Obviously, I work with, the folks that are doing partnerships for us and we're working on content together, but to get the whole of the scope and like, how are those conversations with, those sponsors going? How are certain things decided? What are the KPIs for those? Like, those are things that I have a general knowledge of right now, but to just try it out on the partnership side of thing, I think would be really cool. So yeah, I love my job. I don't want to move.
Ashley, anytime you want to connect.
Yeah, same for you. I mean, I know you've got great people around you in terms of, learning esports and everything, but I'm always down for a chat and to collab and, get the tea going, not gossip, but just, see how it all works. Right. That's where I'm at.
Amazing. And so to Tina as well, the same question. If you could swap jobs with anyone in the esports industry, who would it be?
Honestly, it would have to be Optic Hex because I've always admired this guy's his work ethic. I love the fact that they built Optic around like content and they've never switched up on it. Like they've built it from there. That's why the fan base is so like dedicated to them. When things happened and switched over, the fan base followed. Everything that this guy's done is like, it's just like, this guy's so smart. He's like a walking gold mine. Like I don't know. I've always admired everything he's done, and he's obviously not close to done with anything he's doing. He just wants he wants more and more always. And I love the fact that like he's really good with balance when it comes to players, when it comes to content. Like this guy, he puts 110% into everything he does. And a big thing is passion. And like you can tell, like this guy has nothing but passion for what he does. I've always been on the player side, but I've always wanted to see what it's like to be like, you know, the man, like management, like owning a team, like that kind of stuff is crazy to me. Like, you know, you make all those really tough decisions. I'm sure it's very stressful, and I don't really see those decisions because I'm just a player. But I would love to switch for a day and see how, you know, things are when it comes to just like content, merch, managing players, signing players, whatever it is. I've always been so interested in that stuff.
And would you swap for a day, or would you want to swap permanently?
I mean, maybe eventually permanently, but right now I don't know if I could do that. So if not, no way, not right now.
It's only one way to find out, and that's by giving it a shot, right?
True.
And what about you, Kai? If you could swap jobs with someone else in the industry, who would it be?
I'm actually in the same boat as Ashley, that I am right where I'm supposed to be. I feel 100% confident in saying that. Coming over to esports was a real kind of leap of faith in a lot of ways. And I wouldn't have done it with any other org and any other team. And so I know that I'm exactly where I need to be. That said, there are a lot of people that I have deep, deep admiration of in the space. And just to like give the folks on the call a list of like women that I think like particularly you guys should be reaching out to on LinkedIn. You should be reading their news bits. Tina had mentioned her, but Nicole LaPointe Jameson, she's the CEO of Evil Geniuses. Lori Burgess at the Beasley Media Group. Colette Gengemi, who's one of my colleagues. She's our head of consumer products and apparel. She is like personally responsible for kind of the renaissance and like the pioneering of like high-end streetwear and esports. And she knows everything about apparel. She's also proved to be like an amazing mentor to me. I knew nothing about apparel and retail and e-com before coming to this world. And that was just like, that's been just a delightful sort of mind meld for me. And then Johanna Ferris, who's the commissioner for Overwatch League and Call of Duty League. There's just a lot of really impressive females in this space. And I think that, you know, just keep an eye on everybody. And like Tina mentioned, like, yeah, we want more. We want more of us. I don't want to just be able to have like a list of like 5 to 10 names. I want them to be numerous. So yeah, and that's the only way we do that is if people are making the jump into the space.
Yeah, for certain. And I think everyone is, as I said before, so supportive of each other. There are just so many women out there who are doing such a great job, and I think women in games as well, and eFuse and these are doing great work to highlight some of this talent that we have. So we have some questions from the audience, which we can do a couple of just before we go over to the Discord channel. So first of all, what are some of the ways we've got this from an anonymous attendee again, unfortunately. So what are some of the ways I can build an esports school program through marketing? Should I treat this as just a personal brand? Is there anyone who feels they would be able to help on that one?
I can start. I think I don't know if maybe I'm hearing it wrong, but I don't know if I would, you know, make it personal or make it like attached to one person or entity when you're starting a program like that. You know, you should keep it to the, you know, the school that you're doing. In terms of like how you market it, I think it's just making the connection, making sure that the awareness is there. Like if you have a school, you know, target, you know, certain demographics in your region, like find out where you can get that data, get people to sign up to get their data so you can send them stuff and just get them involved. You know, we have some projects here at Minnesota RØKKR in version 1 where we're looking at that space and how we can activate in the collegiate space as well as high school and just have cool programs for people to do. I think it's important for esports orgs to just try to be a part of the lives of those college students. So if it's activating, you know, on campus, if you can, or just like I said, targeting those people. I'm definitely not a marketer. Like that's not my main thing. So that's my best stab at it, is just awareness and making sure that those people in your demo are aware of you. That's step one. And then making sure that you're doing cool activations, you know, for those people. I think that helps bring attention to it. And I would, you know, try to grow it that way.
Do either Kai or Kai or Tina think of a way that you can build on that for an esports school program?
Definitely looking into. I mean, I don't honestly. It was a little bit after my time. When I was in high school, we didn't have that program. I know my high school has it now, and it's grown a little bit over the time. I think it's also just making sure like the players feel like they're in a safer space, because I know in the beginning people were kind of like iffy on it because it was seen as like kind of like nerdy, but it's really not. We're in a day and age where like esports isn't just like nerdy gaming. It's not. It's a career path. And you know, if this is something they want to pursue, they're gonna step their foot into the door to play those, you know, play that high school esports career, because nowadays like experience is everything. Like it's a lot. It really like determines if you'll be picked up or you'll be signed or you'll work in the management side. Like so nowadays, like that's just like, if they know that experience is as important as it is now, then you know, building that that team or organization in high school is very important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you know, when we were growing up, esports was seen as actually maybe detrimental to your health and your well-being. You just sat in front of a computer screen for 8 hours a day. What are you really accomplishing? Blah blah blah. Whereas maybe now that idea is shifting in parents as well. If we are seeing more schools take on esports programs. Kai, do you have anything to add on top of that, just from the marketing side of things, how they would go about that side of things? Or
I think you need to find someone in your administration who's an ally. So whether that's a teacher, whether that's someone in the office, I don't know who it is, but you know, you need space. There's like logistics to doing it, right? And I think that having an adult in your corner who's helping to advocate for you is going to be kind of like one of the most essential parts, I think. That is like me speaking totally out of turn, but just using my lizard brain, that's what I think that you would need.
Okay, great. And these two next questions, I think, sort of dance around the same issue, so we'll sort of take them as one. One is from Olivia Dorsey and one is from an anonymous attendee. Olivia says, to women who are newer in the esports scene, is there any tips or advice you could give to them? And the anonymous attendee says, what is a good way to get women into an esports program? So perhaps the tips and hints can touch on both here. Is there anyone who would like to take this one first?
I guess start. Well, honestly, it depends. Like whether it's going into management, and I think Ashley can touch up on that better than I can. But as a player, you definitely want to like put yourself out there more. There's a lot of free tournaments, like always on Twitter. Like they're always promoting them. You get invited to them, sign up for them. Maybe there's a little fee of like $5 to $10. You know, enter it with your friend. Just like I said, experience is a big thing. Just putting yourself out there, letting like these people know that you're really chasing this dream and you're really in it for the long run. And yeah, just like I always tell these girls the same thing. Like there's so many tournaments you could just enter there, you know, post a clip on Twitter. If your Twitter clip goes viral, like, you know, people are going to see that. Like when we were scouting players, it was just me and Maddie at the time. You know, people would send us clips all the time and we're like, wow, this girl's nuts. Like we should really look into like signing her because we're building our team still. And yeah, just like marketing yourself is a big thing. Networking is also like, it helps a lot, but it ultimately comes down to your skill. But people have to know who like you exist. So you want to post the clips somewhere. You want to post it on TikTok. You want to post it on Twitter. You want to tag me in it, whatever it is, whoever you're trying to reach, that's probably where you should post it, or that is where you should post it. It helps a lot though, more than you think. Yeah,
for sure. That visibility, I think, is something that is so important, especially in esports, because it is something that is still developing at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely want to second that. I have like never, I guess like Twitter has like never been so prominent in like hiring in my like past life than it is today. And that's for like designers, that's video producers, that's freelance like project market managers. Like it's actually quite wild. I think how often we source from Twitter, and everything from like, you know, like our creative director, our head of creative, Matt Lucero, he's constantly posting jobs, and he's, you know, his community is the gaming community, and it's like, hey, if you love Overwatch and you know Premiere, hit me up, I've got a job. So I think that like, yeah, really mining and using like, yeah, using social for your professional development, like that's the way to do it, at least for this industry. That's what I've seen, and that's been kind of a new thing for me to get used to.
Yeah, for sure. Ashley, do you have anything you can add in, any other tips or tricks that we can help get more women into the industry, or help women who are newer in the industry excel?
Yeah, I think Tina and Kai, you know, had some really good tips. I think it's, if you're passionate about this industry, or even if you're not, if you just see it as maybe it's the next big thing and you want to, you know, take your skills over, I would say just making sure that you're connecting with who you need to connect with. So if you're trying to be a creator that's doing it on the social side of things, you know, posting out your stuff, you know, making friends, I think it's best to come up in the content space with a group, right? Like you're all kind of around the same size, you're just making cool stuff together. That's a great way to do it. If you're more like me, like back in my day, I was more of a solo, like just playing by myself, talking to myself in my room, making videos. I would just say to do it. Like if you have to like it, you should like it and do it. And that's just, I know that's super generic advice and not what everyone wants to hear, because everyone wants to hear, well, how do I do this? Just get it done. And you just have to go through it and live it. And I've found the most success in terms of, you know, particularly being a female in the industry, of just being myself too. Like I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it or, you know, save, you know, yourself. I think another key tip too would be, you know, staying firm with what you say. If you say a good idea, don't say, well, I don't know anyway, or, you know, what do you guys think at the end? Like, say what you think, you know, and be confident in it. Make sure you're representing your thoughts and feelings on things, not in an aggressive way, but just in a way that makes you, you know, appear that you're firm, even if maybe inside you're like, man, I'm the only woman in this 12-person call. Like, how do I balance that out? And how do I make sure that my voice is heard? It's speaking with conviction and being confident in what you're doing and just doing the thing. So, and then I see the other question, you know, would be a good way to get women into an esports program. I think that eFuse has done a tremendous job with the women's tournaments that they've ran. I've played in them. I know so many women who have played in them that, you know, maybe I hadn't heard of before. And it allows you to find those people, right, and to shine the spotlight. And then hopefully what I'm hoping from those things is there's the recognition that's there. More people find out that these female players are actually really, really good. And then you will start to see the likes of, you know, EG picking up, or is it, which team was it that got the male and female team?
The Valorant team, it was EG.
Valorant.
EG, okay, I don't know why I was thinking of Cloud9 or something, but yeah, EG. And then, you know, there's actually a team in Rocket League as well that I just found out there's a female that plays with two other males on the team. Charlotte Phoenix, shout out to Karma on that team. She's kicking butt, doing her thing. Like that's the type of thing that I want to see. And I think the all women's events and tournaments, you know, really open that up and get that recognition out there, shine the spotlight.
Yeah, for certain. And I think as well, it sort of creates a community within. I think like Overwatch has quite a good space, I think, for female tournaments. It's got Female Legends, which is a Swedish organization which helps coach boot camp female players, not only in Overwatch but League of Legends, etc. And then of course you've got Women in Games in all the different countries, and you've got lots of different orgs that are female focused. And so I think, yeah, just those communities focusing on each other and helping the growth is what is super important for sure. So I think we maybe have time for one more question. So we'll take this one question from Kelly, and then if you have any further questions, make sure to join us in a Discord after. We'll answer as many as we can. But just this one quickly from Kelly. What do you think about the growth of esports as a high school sport? who would like to go first?
I can go first. I think it's
Yep.
awesome, right? I think it's to the point that Tina said earlier. If that would have been a thing in my high school, I would have been over the moon. When I went to high school, which we'll not talk about how long ago it was, but gaming was kind of like nerdy, like that's a waste of time. What are you doing? And now it's a completely different thing. I think that there needs to be as many like niche groups in high school as possible, because there's a wide variety of different people, especially at that age. You're discovering your strengths, what you like to do in your spare time, and I think creating that group is really important. And now you see that growth in the collegiate level of esports, whether that's programs or even like what I would love to see is like a content focused college of the players coming through. That I think that'd be really cool. So you're going to see that they're going to need to take from something, right? So it's going to be those high school, activities and groups that are kind of getting into the space themselves. It's practice. It's practicing. How do I sign up, or how do I create a tournament? How does that work? How do I make a cool event? How does that work? Like, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to make this activation awesome, right? It's taking all that and just pushing it up the levels as you go.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I have not done it, so I can't say, yeah, that's how you do it, but that's how I would do it.
No, definitely. I mean, it's looking after that next generation. We've got to teach them how to fill our shoes, I suppose, in a way. So, teaching them early just means that they're going to have those ideas when they get into the industry anyway, in my opinion, anyway. What do you think, Kai or Tina? What do you think about it as a high school activity?
I mean, I think high school, it should be just as valuable as tennis or theater or any sort of extracurricular club or athletics. I'd say though, generally, I really love the idea of cultivating competition in high school, middle school, and elementary school for women, because I think that part of it there's a delta in technical skills, just generally, which I think is holding us back in some ways. But I also think there's like a mentality around competition. And I think that we are grooming our young women to be mediators rather than, aggressive sort of competitive winners. And you heard it from Tina. You can tell from Ashley, you got the competitive women. I am too. And like, I might control my daughter's screen time very tightly, but she is a monster at a board game. And like, I want to feed that sense of competition, and that it's okay to want something, and it's okay to want to be the best. And that's like, I think that comes part and parcel to, grooming and reinforcing this idea that there are competitive spaces at a younger age, especially for women.
Yeah, for certain. And just to hear from Tina before we wrap up, is there anything that you would say just about esports as a high school event?
I think it's just going to grow, just like you would be in high school taking like it's a medical class or like law enforcement class. Most people take those because it's the career path they want. I think the same thing is following with esports. Like some people want to follow the esports dream. They want to work in it, or they want to be a player for it, whatever it is. I think that these high schools like jumping in on that like train, it's only just going to get bigger because esports has been growing very, very rapidly. So for colleges, for high schools, for all of them to just, be a part of that space, it's great because it's just going to get bigger and there's a lot more interest around it. So yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you guys. So I'll pass back over to David now.
Right.
But it was lovely to get to speak to you.
Yeah, well, thank you, everyone. So that was amazing. And we're coming to the end of part one, the long part one of this webinar on Zoom. And we will be heading over shortly to the Women in Games Esports Discord, where you will actually get to speak, use your voice rather than type at some of our panelists. So on behalf of Women in Games and the mighty eFuse, thank you, Tina, Kai, Ashley, and Emma. It's been fantastic. The advice is amazing. We will try and capture that and amplify it in the videos that come out of this particular session. Anyone in our audience who's not clicked yet on the free Discord link, you need to do it now, because it will shortly be disappearing and then you'll be lost. So A final thank you to Tina, Kai, Ashley and Emma. Let's give everyone a wave and wander over to the Discord channel. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.